right, glad you guys are here tonight. Like Hannah said a little bit ago, this will be our last time all the campuses together for a while. So afterwards tonight when we're done, go outside, spend some time hanging out, playing games, do whatever. Just get a chance to hang out one last time all together before we go out to these other campuses next week when we kick that off. Right now to start, I got a song I want to share with you guys, and if you think you know what the song is from afterwards, I'll take some guesses, see if you know what it's from, but let's listen to this for a second. Maybe.
I want to be the very best, like no one ever was.
So good, so good. Oh, man. Do you know what it's from? Pokemon. I'll tell you what, I don't even really, I never got into Pokemon as a kid. Like, I think I might have been just a little bit too old for it or something. My little brother, he was really into it. I made fun of him. I called him a Poke nerd and just mean stuff. You know, I was a bully. But I'll never forget that song. I mean, that song is ingrained into my brain forever. In fact, you can ask Andrew. He will tell you, like, just at random times throughout the week while we're working in the office, I'll just start going, I want to be the very best. Yeah, you know the song. You know, I only know that first line. I don't know anything after that. I know that first line. It is ingrained in my heart. I'll be 90 years old, and I'll hear that come on, and I'll be like, oh, Pokemon. Yeah, I know that. I know that first line. I'll have that memorized for the rest of my life. Because for me, and I think for all of us as humans, it resonates as truth. I mean, it is true to you no matter who you are in this world. When you hear that line, you're like, yeah, I do want to be the best, like no one ever was. I don't know what it is that you want to be the best at, but we all have something in our lives that we want to be the best at. In fact, right now, if you can think of something right off the top of your head, tell the person you're sitting next to, what would you like to be the best at? Anything in the world, what do you want to be the best at? Tell somebody. Now tell the person on the other side of you, what do you want to be the best at? All right, I need to hear a couple of these. Mason, what do you want to be the best at? Engineering. Genetic engineering? Like you're gonna make like mutants and like rule the world? That's awesome. That's dope. JT, what do you want to be the best at? What? Cooking. I thought you said looking. Best looking, that'd be good too. Good for you, man. Best, who wants to? CJ, what do you want to be the best at? Partying. Best partying. All right, one more. At being the worst? That's a weird goal. Okay, one more. Hunter. The best what? Nerd? Okay, right on, man. Right on. That's awesome. We want, I mean, you know, deep down, as a human, there's something that we all want to be the best at. For me, I wrestle with this. In fact, for a long time until recently, I've always wrestled with this concept of, as a Christian, is it okay to want to be the best, to want to be the greatest? For a long time, I've wrestled with this idea in my mind because I thought, okay, I've heard all these sermons and I've read in the Bible we're supposed to be humble and we're supposed to be kind of meek as Christians and, you know, we should all just kind of, you know, be on equal footing. Everybody's the same. We're all loved by God and nobody's better than anyone. And so I've kind of heard some of these different sermons and things, and I've heard this idea preached that it's wrong to be competitive. It's wrong to strive to beat someone in a sport or whatever it is that you're competitive in, whatever it is that you want to be great or the best at. And so I've always wrestled with this until recently. I heard this sermon, and it was by this guy named Erwin McManus, and he's a preacher out in California, incredible preacher. But he did this sermon, and I want to share some things that I learned from listening to him about what it means to be the best as a Christian, what it means to seek after greatness. Because he doesn't say it's wrong. In fact, it was a whole new take on it that I heard him preach on. So for me in my life, I've had this idea, I've heard people say this. Okay, now that you're a Christian, you'll grow out of being competitive and you'll become more mature and eventually you won't care about, trying to win all the time. And I'll tell you what, I'm 30 years old and I still love to win. Like anybody else just love to win? Okay, anybody hate to lose more than they love to win? Because really that's what I hate to lose. It drives me insane. So recently this last summer, I was at the gym, Genesis, right over here off Maple, and I was playing basketball, and this kid came in from Omaha North, and we started talking, and eventually I found out he was a varsity basketball player for Omaha North. He was pretty good, and we decided, okay, let's play a game, and he barely won the first game, like barely. It was close. And then I was like, all right, best out of three. I got the next one. No, lost again. And it started eating at me. I hadn't been playing basketball much, for a long time. But all of a sudden, after losing those 2 times to this high school kid, I was thinking, I'm kind of ticked off. And so every day whenever I came to the gym, I'd start shooting again and playing a little bit more. And it just started kind of driving me. And finally, right after CIY, I saw this kid again at the gym, and we were talking and shooting around again, and we ended up playing some games, and I smoked him the first game, and he was pretty pissed. He was like, yeah, I know, thank you. Yes, thank you. Stop. So I'm feeling pretty good, and he's kind of ticked. He just lost to a 30-year-old guy, and, who's out of shape and huffing and puffing, and he's like, let's go again, run it back. I was like, all right, let's run it back. Draining him. I smoked him again the second game. Wasn't even close. But all that to say, I hate to lose and I love to win. And still at 30, I am not more mature in that area of my life than when I was 16 or 15. It drives me crazy. And so I've been struggling with that in my life until I heard this sermon and this guy preaching on it. Let me read to you this passage tonight that we're going to be looking at. Luke chapter 9, verse 46 through 48. Check it out here. Jesus and his disciples, they're hanging out, they're walking around, they're doing ministry together. And here's what's going on here, verse 46. Then his disciples, they began arguing about which of them was the greatest. So, I kind of imagine, Jesus is walking at the head of the pack, and all these disciples are kind of hanging back, and, they just start kind of fighting with each other. Man, I'm the best. Jesus loves me the most. I'm the best disciple. I'm just always healing people and doing cool stuff. I'm the man. And so they're just fighting about that. Who's the greatest? But Jesus, he knew their thoughts. He's the Son of God. Of course, he doesn't need to hear them. He doesn't need to be back there. He knows their thoughts. So he brought a little child to his side. And then he said to them, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me. And anyone who welcomes me also welcomes my Father who sent me. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest. Jesus has a chance right here, once and for all, to squash the notion of trying to be the greatest. He could tell them, hey, it's not right. It's a sin to try and be the greatest, to try and be the best. Stop striving after that. But he does not tell them that. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest. He's telling them, if you want to be great, go after it. But greatness does not look exactly how you picture it in your mind. We have these thoughts and ideas of what greatness is in our culture. We look around at the world and we look at people like, whatever, I'm just going to throw some names out there. Taylor Swift, Joe Jonas. I don't know if they're relevant anymore. We look at them and we think, man, that's great. They're rich. They're famous. They got it all. Bruno Mars, Justin Bieber, whatever. We look at that. And we say, that is greatness. That's what I want to achieve. And whatever it is that you love to do in life, art, music, sports, whatever it is you're passionate about, math, science, you want to be the best. And someday you want to use those skills and you want to become great and you want to become famous. If you're a scientist, you probably want to, create a cure for, I don't know, some terrible disease and win the Nobel Peace Prize and do all kinds of cool things. But you want to be great at whatever you do. You want to be the best. And Jesus, he says, yeah, seek after greatness, but it doesn't look like what the world tells you it looks like. It looks a lot different to be great in God's kingdom. But remember that he does not tell us not to be great. It's okay to seek after greatness. Philippians 2:3-4 says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Conceit is an excessive pride in oneself. So if you can learn in your life how to seek after greatness for the things that you love to do, but do it without becoming conceited, without selfish pride, do it in a way that values others. Do it in a way where you use your skills, your abilities that you want to be great with to help others. When Jesus brought that little child beside him, when he brought that kid, here, let me read it for you again. But Jesus knew their thoughts, so he brought a little child to his side. Then he said to them, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me also welcomes my Father who sent me. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest. When he welcomes that little kid right there, what he's saying to those disciples is, you want to be great, but you want to do it for the wrong reasons. You want to do it for the fame and the glory, and that means you want to do it in a way to get what you want. You want to value yourself above others. But right there in Philippians, it says value others above yourself. And when it's talking about others, it's not talking about the rich and famous in our culture. Because if you suck up to your friend that has a lot of money, they might buy you Chick-fil-A when you guys go out to eat. Or they might kind of carry you along on their coattails. And so sometimes in our culture, we value people that we can get something from. But Jesus, when he pulls that kid beside him, and says, no, value the least among you. Value those who can't repay you, who can't pay you back, who can't do anything to bring you glory. What he's saying is to be great, use your skills, be the best you can, but use them to help the least in our world. Use what God has given you to help those who need help. You can be great. You can make a difference at whatever it is you want to do in this world, but do it in a way where you can help other people. Do it in a way where you're not looking out for yourself, but you're looking out for others. That is what greatness looks like. Matthew 20, another passage here where Jesus is talking to his disciples. 20, verse 20. Then the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. She knelt respectfully to ask a favor. What is your request, he asked. She replied, in your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right and the other on your left. I mean, this is kind of embarrassing. This is like, you ever had a kid on your baseball or softball or whatever team, and they go up with their mom and talk to the coach, and they're telling the coach, hey, you got to put my son starting pitcher every game. He's the best. I don't care about these other kids. He's the best right here. And you're just kind of rolling your eyes because that kid can't even throw a strike, or he's terrible. He can't even run without tripping. It's embarrassing. And okay, come on, man. Have some respect. But that's what James and John are doing here. They're like, hey, Mom, can you go ask Jesus for us if we can be the best, if we can be the greatest? If we can have the seats of power? They're looking out for themselves. They're putting themselves ahead of everyone else. She replied, in your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you. But Jesus answered by saying to them, you don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I am about to drink? He's talking about when he's going to go and die on the cross. The punishment that's going to happen, that he's going to take on the sins of the world. Oh, yes, they replied, we're able. Jesus told them, you will indeed drink from my bitter cup, but I have no right to say who will sit on my right or my left. My Father has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen. When the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, they were indignant. But Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers in this world lord it over the people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. The King of Kings, Jesus himself, came to earth in the flesh, and he could have easily demanded to be served, but he came and he served. He healed, he served, he fed, he took care of the lost and the broken and the hurting and the sinners. And then God himself in the flesh laid his life down for the entire world. He died so that we can be forgiven. He served us in a way that makes him the ultimate servant. Nobody can ever match that kind of servanthood. That is what greatness looks like. Laying your life down. Now he's telling them, if you want to be great, be a servant. Be the best servant you can be. Whatever it is you love to do in this world, find a way to do it the best you can to serve others. If you're good at speaking, maybe you should be a preacher. Maybe you should go and you should be a Bible college professor. If you're good at listening, maybe you should be a counselor. And maybe you should be the best counselor there ever was, because there are people that are hurting and they need someone to help them in their life. If you're an artist, be the best artist you can be, because if you create incredible art, people will look to it and maybe they will be inspired to believe that there is a God. Because if there is no God, nothing so beautiful as that could be created in this world. Whatever it is that you love to do, be the best you can be for God's kingdom, because there is no greater mission to live for, and there's no greater mission to die for. Really, if you want to be the greatest, if you want to be great, seek to be like Jesus. Lay your life down and serve anywhere, everywhere you can, anyone you meet. Find a way to serve the world if you want to be great. There's a dentist here in town, and he strives to be the best dentist he can be. He's a Christian guy. I've known him for a long time. Him and my grandpa, they were friends actually back in the day. But what this guy does is every year he gives a huge portion of his money to the church, because he's a great dentist. He makes a lot of money. Dentists make money. And then he also sacrifices time every year to go on a mission trip and do dental work for people in countries where they've never seen a dentist. They've never even seen a toothbrush, some of these people. He wants to be great for God's kingdom. There's this pastor named Rick Warren who he's written a book called The Purpose-Driven Life. It's sold over 30 million copies. It's an incredible book. He pastors a church of over 30,000 people out in California. He's one of the best preachers, pastors around. And what he does, him and his wife, every year they made a commitment to live off of one less percentage than what they did the year before. And in fact, some years they've been so blessed that they've jumped a couple percentages. So, in God's kingdom, he says, give 10% to the church and live off the rest. Okay, so that's like the bare minimum. What Rick and his wife, what they're doing, most people, if they're Christians, they're living off 90% of their income. Rick and his wife, they live off 9% of their income, and they give away 91% to help other people, to serve God's kingdom. They make that sacrifice. Because he's been one of the best know what it takes. They know it means laying your life down, dying to yourself, and serving others. If you want to be the best, be a servant. Do anything and everything in your power to help the weak, the broken, and the lost. It's going to mean doing hard things, but it's worth it. think for me in my life, I want to be the best student ministries pastor I can be. I want to be the best because I care about students knowing Jesus. And I know it's the most important mission in my life that God has called me to be the best so people that don't know Jesus, who are far from him, can come to know him. For me, what it looks like to be the best student ministry we can be, we came to this conclusion. We decided we need to go into the communities where our churches are. We need to go into Fremont and we need to go into Millard, and we need to reach those people with the gospel message. And so it means for you that you live in those campuses, you people in Fremont, you people in Millard, it means we need you to be the best servants for God that you can be. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, especially in the beginning. But it's the greatest mission you can live for. There's nothing greater in this world than making his name known. There's nothing greater in the world when you see your friend give his life to Jesus in the waters of baptism. That is what we're all about here. That is why we serve. So make your life the best, the greatest gift it can possibly be to serve this world. Let's pray. God, thank you for this church. Thank you for this student ministry and the students and the leaders and the mission you've called us to. And God, I just pray that you put that passion and that desire in us to be the best we can be for your kingdom. That we would take the gifts and the skills you've given us and we would refine them. We would work at them. We would work to be the best we can be so that others can come to know you. God, I pray for us in this room right now. If we're not sure what it is that we're good at, what you've gifted us to do, God, I pray that you would make it clear to us today. That you would put that passion and desire in our hearts to live the best life possible for your kingdom. God, you are good. In your name we pray. Amen. Let's stand up and worship.